Wong Chen, Manajaya, YB Nurul Izzah, Alba Pantai, myself, and Dr. Hatta Ramli. Today, we are sending a letter to the Attorney General's office as part of members of the Parliamentary Caucus on TPPA. As you know, there are 30 chapters in the agreement that Malaysia has signed with 11 other countries. 30 bab. One of the most controversial agreement chapter is the investment chapter. That chapter allows foreign corporations, only foreign corporations, to sue the government of Malaysia, number one, to challenge the decisions of Parliament. That means this House, whatever decisions you make here, can be challenged by foreign corporations. And number three, the decisions made in the courts at the federal level, at the High Court level, can also be challenged by the foreign corporations. There are many precedents for this, and this is a controversy not only in Malaysia, but all over the world. What this will do is, it will challenge or undermine the sovereignty of the nation, the independence of the courts, as well as the sovereignty of what we call Parliament. We say Parliament now makes decisions in the interest of the people. I laugh about it because just now you heard what happened, right? But that interest can be challenged now by foreign corporations. There are precedents and so on and so forth. I don't know, the details are here. If you lose this case, you have to pay not thousands, but millions and millions of dollars in US dollars, and sometimes even billions of dollars. Okay? Now, in the caucus meetings, we have asked the Minister of Trade and Industry to give us legal advice from the AG's chambers, saying that the contents of the chapter, of the investment chapter, does not violate Malaysian Constitution and Malaysian laws. Doesn't violate. But he said he will look into it, and on this past Monday, he again said, let's look at it, which means that he's not going to do it though. So we don't trust him to do it, and therefore we are asking the Attorney General in the next 2 weeks to provide a detailed legal advice whether the TPPA, especially the investment chapter, is consistent with the constitution of the country, will not challenge the supremacy of Parliament, and also the independence of the courts.
Okay, so we're going to wrap it up.
The level of the courts. Okay, so this letter, if they do not come back to us in 2 weeks, then we will go for a judicial review. We'll go for a judicial review, asking the courts to make the decision. But right now, we still give the minister as well as the AG's chambers 2 weeks to come back to us whether it is consistent with the constitution, the supremacy of Parliament, as well as the courts can be maintained.
What are the things that you can challenge, bring to court for the judicial?
Constitutional issues, whether the trade agreement violates the constitution, yeah, whether the...
It's not a judicial review.
Judicial review. It's a judicial review asking the courts to determine whether the constitution is at stake, whether it's a violation of the constitution, as well as the courts and Parliament. Right now, all three can be challenged by foreign corporations, and there is a precedence for that. Governments have paid millions and millions of US dollars to corporations, and this will not take place in Malaysia. It will be undertaken by a tribunal in Washington.
But this is a challenge to judicial is a private effort, not just
No, it's a pakatan effort.
It's a pakatan effort. What we know is this: the Federal Council, which is a division of the Attorney General Office, has been working on the TPP for 5 years as well. So 2 weeks to come up with a proper opinion shouldn't be a problem at all, right? What we're saying, if they don't give us proper answer, they don't commit down in legal terms, in legal opinion terms, we will take it to the next level. Whether we go to the courts, whether we do through judicial review, that's a mechanism that we will have to discuss further. What we know is they must commit down. It's not enough that the minister say, the Attorney General says, all right, we can sign. We want to have a legal opinion
in black and white,
signed by the new Attorney General. We want to see what his worth really is today, yeah, and to verify that everything is kosher in terms of the legal aspect of this before we proceed further. As you all know, today the cost-benefit paper has been put on our desk. I've had a quick reading on both. One is prepared by ISIS, not the terrorist group, of course, but our ISIS, and then the other one is prepared by PwC. I have had a quick reading. I would like to reserve my later comments after we've gone through thoroughly, but after 1 hour reading, generally, the PwC paper is not bad. It is quite balanced. We have a few issues there, of course. There are winners and losers in that, but I think the losers outweigh the winners on my reading. Yeah. As for the ISIS paper, it's very clear. It's a geopolitical paper that just stresses one point, that we have to support the American in their efforts to pivot against China. And I think that is just, the trade agreement should not be treated as a political football. It cannot be used as a geopolitical tool. Okay. So that's about it. We're going to rush back. Nurul Izzah stays up. Thank you so much.
For those of you who want to know more about the geopolitical, I can talk to you though, because I challenged the minister a number of times. Why are you signing this? And on Monday, the minister admitted that they are signing this agreement to stop China though. The minister is in record. He's in record to have said that we are signing, among the many things we are signing this agreement is because we want to stop China and stop China's influence in South China Sea though. In South China Sea, including ASEAN. Now, just for information, in the 50-year history, or 60 years of history in ASEAN, there was only 2 times in 60 years when the ASEAN ministers could not sign an agreement, could not sign a defense agreement. Every year, the ASEAN ministers have a meeting, right? In Malaysia, it took place last month. And there was no agreement. And why there's no agreement? Because there are some countries in Southeast Asia that are openly supporting China, and therefore it is a threat to US geopolitical interests. Okay, so now the other day I challenged the minister. I said, you are supporting this agreement because the US wants it signed, and the US is using you to sign this agreement. And on Monday he said yes. He's in record. I can send you the quote if you want. Okay. Now, Ashton Carter, who is the Defense Secretary of the United States, Ashton Carter, ASHTON, Carter, CARTER, said that the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement in the next 5 or 6 years will be upgraded into a security arrangement. Will be elevated into a security arrangement, which means to say that Malaysia, this trade agreement will also have a geopolitical interest representing the interests of America in this region. So this is just not a trade agreement. It's just not a trade agreement. It has got a geopolitical component to it. And that is to stop China's influence in Southeast Asia, especially in the reclamation of land and so on and so forth, but also the governments in Southeast Asia are openly supporting China against the United States.
So if we sign the TPP, do you think the US will open up a base with that situation?
No, I think what the US is doing is this. There are 2 components in the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. One is tariff reduction. The other is regulation. They want you to change regulations so that they can lock you into the American system. It's a lock-in mechanism. And that lock-in mechanism, the review process is 10 years, 15 years, depends on the chapter. So it's just not a trade agreement, by the way, or investment agreement. It's also a security arrangement as well. Thank you. Yeah, anybody wants this document here? Anybody wants an extra copy? You got it. Ajay, give an extra copy.